All right, let's get straight into our newsy type article here today.
What happened? What happened?
Okay, well, it says a polar bear was shot dead in 2018 after attacking a cruise ship worker. That's why I said it was kind of sad news.
Yeah.
Shot dead, of course, just means that you shoot something with a gun and the thing dies, the person or the animal here. So the polar bear attacked a cruise ship worker. Now, we should know what a cruise is. A cruise, this noun is a vacation that you take on a large ship or a large sailboat. Now, often a cruise ship will stop at a few different places so that the people can get off the boat and walk around the area that they're in.
That's right.
That's what was happening here. The cruise ship had stopped in this place, and the cruise ship workers had gotten off the boat to check the area, and a polar bear attacked the worker.
Wow, so these are these big holiday boats. They're just kind of like giant floating hotels, and people go around the beautiful locations in the world, Hawaii or the Mediterranean, or up north to Alaska, or in this case to northern Norway, just for a holiday. So that's what they were doing. They weren't working, they weren't really traveling, they're just going around on a tour boat on a cruise ship to see cool stuff and eat lots of food. Anyway, so when did this happen? This happened in polar bear territory in Norway's Svalbard, a group of Arctic islands. I think they're also called the Svalbard Islands.
Right.
So this is northern Norway in the North Atlantic, and this was polar bear territory. Well, a lot of the Arctic is polar bear territory.
That's right.
Here we're using territory, of course, it's a noun, to talk about an area of land, especially an area of land that is not really controlled, but is lived in by animals. And for animals, they don't have borders and passports and, this is my area, that's your area, I'm going to build a wall. They don't mark their territory in that way, but they do have territories. When lions fight, or when dogs bark at each other, or if you have your two cats at home and one sleeps on the bed and one sleeps on the chair and they fight, if the other one goes into their area of land, their territory, that's the kind of thing we're talking about. For example, the dogs started barking at each other when one went into the other's territory. They're kind of saying, hey man, this is my area.
Yeah.
You go to your area because I don't want you in my area. It's my territory. All right, so yes, the Arctic is polar bear territory.
It is,
most of the year, of course.
Yeah. Oh, I'd say all of the year, to be honest.
Different parts, they do travel around, but there are parts that they live and hunt in. That's their territory.
All right, so we did see this word Arctic again. Now, we talked about the Arctic as a place, but in that sentence, it was used as an adjective. Now, Arctic, as an adjective, we used it to describe the islands that are, of course, in the Arctic. So we can talk about it as a place and also describe things that are in this place. So the Arctic is the most northern part of Earth, of course, and it's very cold, often covered in ice and snow.
Okay, so we can talk about Arctic winds or Arctic temperatures or things like that.
Yeah.
So let's find out more about the situation. The cruise ship employee or worker on the cruise ship, the cruise ship employee was working on MS Bremen, a ship belonging to a German company, Hapag-Lloyd Cruises, a big cruise ship and ferry boat company from Europe. If you travel by boat from England to Europe, from Britain to Europe, you might be on a Hapag-Lloyd ferry boat. So this is a big company running a lot of these cruise ships and stuff like that. It belonged to the company. The ship belonged to this cruise ship company. If something belongs to somebody, it means it's yours. You own it. It's your thing. No one can take it away from you because they didn't pay for it. They weren't given it. You were given it. It's yours. It belongs to you. For example, the house belongs not just to her, but to her husband as well. Yeah, if you share things with people, they belong to both of you.
That's right. Okay, so let's learn a little bit more about this cruise ship company, Hapag-Lloyd.
And the polar bear, and how did this all take place?
Well, in polar bear territory, you have to watch out for polar bears.
They do get hungry.
So it says here, the company employs guards to check landing places for polar bears before allowing tourists to safely exit the ship. Now that's a smart idea.
Yes.
You want to protect the tourists, because
Yes.
that's even worse news if a polar bear attacks a tourist.
Having your grandma get eaten on the cruise is not going to make for a happy holiday.
No. So what the company is doing is it's employing guards. Now, when you employ somebody, you make them work. So let's find out more about this verb here. Okay, so we saw the verb employ in that sentence. When you employ someone, you pay them to work for you. Someone that you pay for doing work is called an employee, E-M-P-L-O-Y-E-E. And the person who pays someone is called the employer, E-M-P-L-O-Y-E-R. So we've used employ to pay someone to work, employee, the person that works, and the employer, the person that pays someone else. As an example sentence, we could say, my father employs our teenage neighbor to mow our grass and do other yard work. Okay, so they've got these guards, and the guards were on the land here. They've checked for the polar bears, obviously not very well.
Right. Well, they are white.
Yeah.
And the snow's white. And polar bears are good at sneaking up.
They
but
are.
You do kind of think that maybe someone could have been looking around more carefully.
If that's your job,
That's not what happened. As we see in this case, or in this situation, the one we're talking about now, in this case, a polar bear that had not been spotted suddenly attacked the guard, injuring his head. It probably popped up and ran at him, and he had only a few seconds to react. I guess the polar bear might have knocked him down with its giant paws. But anyways, whatever happened, the worker, the guard, got injured. To injure, this verb is basically to hurt. You can injure someone by cutting them or bumping into them, knocking them down, whatever. You can injure yourself if you do any of those things.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're going to die, but you might have to go to a hospital. You might have to get some first aid because you've been injured in any way. All right, it can be a serious injury. That's the noun form. You can injure yourself in a serious way where you might really have to be in the hospital for a while, or you can injure yourself in a small way. For example, ouch, I injured my hand while I was chopping vegetables.
just a little cut.
I cut my finger.
Yeah.
That wasn't a bad injury.
Okay, well, let's go on to the article.
So there's the man.
Yeah.
The polar bear pops up, charges over, knocks him down or bites him or something. And then what happened?
Well, another guard shot and killed the polar bear to save the man.
Well, I mean, it's...
I mean, that's something that we have to do.
It's one of those situations where there's no happy ending.
No.
Do you shoot the bear and then maybe kill the bear, or do you just let the bear kill the man? No one really wins. But anyways, so I guess the second guard decided the best thing to do is to shoot the bear to try to save his co-worker's life.
Right.
And then that's what he did. And then the injured guard was airlifted to a hospital in a nearby city, giving us the idea that this was a pretty serious injury.
Right.
It wasn't just like a scratch from a polar bear. He had to go to the hospital and go there quickly because we read he was airlifted.
That's right.
This is to basically use an airplane, or probably in this case a helicopter, to fly in and pick the person up. The ambulance won't reach them. Putting them on the boat and driving back for a day or two to a hospital, too slow, so they had to call for an emergency airlift. They sent in a helicopter, probably picked him up and got him to a hospital in a few hours.
Right. Okay. So, unfortunately, a very bad situation on all ends. You don't want to see a person die. You don't want to see a polar bear die either. But one of the things has to happen. So let's move on here and find out sort of about the aftermath, what's kind of happened after this situation. It says, the Svalbard governor's office is now investigating the situation.
Well,
of course, that happens after something or somebody dies.
That's
you
right.
know, you have to investigate, but let's find out who is investigating. We use the word governor here. It's a noun, and a governor is a person who is in charge of an area that belongs to another another country. So Svalbard is a part of Norway. It's not in Norway. It's an island, or it's a group of islands above Norway in the ocean. So the governor or the government of Norway has a governor to be in charge of this area. So the president or prime minister of Norway would choose someone to sort of govern that area.
That's right.
Now, as an example, we would say the British don't control Hong Kong anymore, so it no longer has a governor.
All right. So yes, the governor, the person in charge of the local government, they will investigate this situation, investigate what happened. To investigate, this verb basically means to look into something very carefully. It's kind of like doing research. We often do this when something serious happens and the government or police or scientists or someone like that will look at this situation, look at what happened, ask all the important questions, get all the information. In this case, they're investigating it to try to see if they can stop it from happening again in the future. But until you find out exactly what happened, all of the different parts of it, that's the investigate part. You can't really come with a good decision, a good final answer. For example, the police will investigate the bank robbery and try to catch the criminals. They'll look at camera footage, they'll look for fingerprints, they'll talk to all the people who are in the bank, they'll get all the information, and hopefully then they can catch the bad guys.
Okay, so as the governor's office is kind of looking into the situation, of course, this company is, it's a German company, but you can see it all over the world. It has to say something about this.
Some people will be upset that they killed a polar bear.
Exactly.
They are endangered. They're valuable, precious animals. No one wants to see them die. But what did the company say?
Well, it says here, Hapag-Lloyd Cruises stated they regretted this situation, but that it was necessary for the polar bear to be killed. Okay, not a popular opinion for some people, but you know, if you look at it from both sides, it does make sense. So they do regret the situation, though. Regret is a verb, and when you regret something, you feel bad about something that's happened or that you've done, and you sort of wish that that thing had not happened or that you didn't do that thing, often because someone gets hurt or someone feels bad in some way. For example, June regrets saying those mean things to her sister and making her cry.
So when you regret, you often kind of want to go back in time and say, oh, I want to do that again. I feel bad for what I did.
I shouldn't have done that.
I made a mistake. And yes, we have this grammar point, that. When that is used to join together two parts of a sentence and is after a verb, we often leave it out. Like in the article when we said, Hapag-Lloyd Cruises stated they regretted the situation. Notice that little space there, because you could say, or you could write, Hapag-Lloyd Cruises stated that they regretted the situation. Both are fine, but if you're feeling a little lazy or if you just want to get your point across quickly, you can drop that from the sentence. In a sentence with more than one that clause, we will omit the first that, but not omit the rest, so that the sentence won't be confusing. You can't drop all the that's. You can only drop one if there's only one. But if there's two or more, you can only drop the first one. For example, Mark thinks that Judy is nice to him and that she must like him. That's a lot of that there. So why don't we just say Mark thinks Judy is nice to him and that she must like him. You see, there's two ideas there about Judy and Mark. And the first one, we don't have to say what we're talking or thinking about Judy. Just Mark thinks Judy is nice to him and that she must like him. So there you go. You can use that's, but not too many that's, because that's annoying.
All right, so we've got the governor's office investigating. We've got Hapag-Lloyd saying they feel bad this happened, but the polar bear, it was necessary to kill it to save the person. But, you know, this photo of the polar bear. It made it into the news and onto the internet. And that makes people upset, which is why it says here, many people are expressing their anger on social media after seeing photos of the dead polar bear.
Well, I mean, would they be happy if it was photos of dead workers and dead tourists and a happy polar bear eating them?
Yeah, it's a hard situation to really have an opinion about, right?
You gotta think a little bit before you put comments on the internet because,
Right.
you know, what were they supposed to do? It's a bad situation, but
Exactly.
would letting the polar bear eat tourists for lunch be a better situation?
Yeah, I don't know.
And how would the company would look bad? Yes, well, we just let them eat our workers. What can we do? I
Right.
mean, that's not realistic.
It's a bad situation.
That's right.
But you know what? They are questioning something.
They are some of those people on the internet who have an opinion and see a picture that makes them upset. They have some questions. They're questioning why humans would enter a polar bear's habitat and then kill it if it got too close. Well, that is a good question.
It
Of
is.
course, you know, these tourists were there, but the question is, why did they have to be there? Or I would also say, why did they have to get off the boat? Can't they just look at the beautiful Arctic landscape from the boat? Why do you
Right.
have to walk around? That is a
where
good
the
question.
polar bears live.
And this is polar bear territory or the polar bear habitat. We're kind of invading their home.
Right.
And if, you know, I walked into your home and you punched me in the nose, I wouldn't be like, hey. I'd say, yes, I walked into your home
I'm
and
sorry.
this isn't my home.
Yeah.
So anyways, yes, this is polar bear habitat, so maybe people shouldn't put themselves in a dangerous situation. What is a habitat? This noun is basically a place or an environment where a plant or an animal normally lives, where you normally find it. The habitat of the camel is the desert. The habitat of a parrot is the jungle. That's where you normally find them. Now, yes, you can find camels in zoos or circuses or Australia, but that's not their natural habitat, the
Right.
place that they were originally found where nature put them. All right, so there you go. Maybe we should stay out of polar bear habitats. Maybe we shouldn't get ourselves too close to the habitats and their territories because there are problems. But generally, when it comes down to the animal's life or the human's life, the animal usually loses.
Right.
That's just the way it goes. So there you go. Kind of a sad story, but hopefully we will learn from this,
Yes.
move on, and avoid situations like this in the future. But you know what we can't avoid?
What's that?
Our chat question.
We can't.
It's coming for us.
Right now.
We can't shoot it with a rifle.
Nope.
We can't get the Norwegian authorities to investigate.
Nope.
We have to answer it
All right.
right now.
Okay.